An EOC may be activated in anticipation of or in response to a natural disaster, national emergency, or military contingency operations, and commensurate with the applicable authority and appropriation. The EOC will support each assigned tasker and related deployment in a timely manner to ensure the success of the mission or missions. For natural disasters and national emergencies, the EOC is activated in anticipation of a major event that can impact any of the respective district projects, assets, or personnel, and/or cause significant property damage or suffering within the district's area of responsibility. The EOC may also be activated in response to an unexpected catastrophe within the district's AOR with a similar degree of potential or actual damage. Following an event, the focus will be on timely collection of initial data for assessment of staff safety, project conditions, and general welfare of the population within the district AOR. In addition, the EOC will focus on preparations for timely and adequate support to assumed tasks by district command authority and assigned taskers received from higher authority. USACE emergency management personnel will need to review guidance and/or coordinate with Headquarters USACE regarding the use of flood control and coastal emergency or National Emergency Preparedness Program funding for this type of EOC activation. Another type of EOC activation is a contingency-driven activation. In this instance, the EOC is activated in anticipation of or in response to military contingency operation taskers involving deployment of district personnel. The EOC will remain activated for the duration that district personnel are deployed or as dictated by the district commander. The focus of the EOC will be adequate EOC staffing to support timely deployment of district staff and to support the deployed staff as necessary to ensure full success of the mission. USACE emergency management personnel will need to specifically coordinate with Headquarters USACE regarding the use of field force engineering funds for this type of EOC activation. The levels of activation are compatible with the activation levels and terminology used by FEMA National, the FEMA regions, and most states. Under normal day-to-day conditions, the EOC focuses on preparedness activities and monitors weather and event information sources to maintain situational awareness of potential incidents or evolving situations. Planning and training are primary activities during this phase. During normal operations, the need, type, and frequency of upward reporting requirements will be determined by the EOC manager in conjunction with the District Emergency Management Chief. Operations take place during normal duty hours. Level 3 is typically a monitoring phase that begins preparation for a potential threat, such as a developing tropical system that has a medium to high probability of impacting the district or division's area of responsibility, or a developing flood situation. Notification rosters will be activated, and notification will be made to those emergency response team members who would need to take action. The Emergency Operations Center will be staffed with resident emergency management staff during this level. During this phase, the need, type, and frequency of upward reporting requirements will be determined by the EOC manager in conjunction with the District Emergency Management Chief. Operations take place during normal duty hours. Level 2 is a limited activation. All primary or lead emergency response teams and cadre members are notified and placed on alert. The Emergency Operations Center will be staffed by resident emergency management personnel and augmented as necessary with Crisis Action Team or CAT personnel. The EOC operates 12 hours a day, 7 days a week under this level of activation. Formal reporting happens during this phase via daily situation reports or SITREPs and ENGLink. The SITREP is a multi-purpose narrative report submitted up the chain of command. SITREPs are required to report threats, ongoing emergency operations, or other incidents which may have impact upon or require a response from Headquarters USACE or a division. It keeps addressees informed and enables commands and appropriate agencies to anticipate and prepare for potential missions and other response activities. During full activation, all CAP personnel are activated. The Emergency Operations Center will be staffed by emergency management personnel and all EOC Support Team (EST) personnel. Operations are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The requirement for formal reporting through daily SITREPs continues during this phase. This table shows the difference in the Declaration of Emergency Memo and the EOC activation level in ENGLink. A declaration of emergency establishes the commander's authority to respond to the disaster. It is required to respond under PL 8499 and spend emergency funds and deploy assets except when providing support to an impacted district. A declaration of emergency is issued only once per emergency and is issued only at the district level. The initial declaration may be made verbally, but must be followed up in writing within 24 hours of the commander's decision, both in a signed memorandum and in a situation report or SITREP. The EOC activation level in ENGLink indicates the EOC's operational hours and activity. EOC activation indicates to the staff that all information on the emergency needs to flow through the EOC. This is applicable for any EOC, be it at the district or division level. The activation level in ENGLink changes as required and must be lowered to level 4 once the EOC resumes normal day-to-day operations. Changes in activation must be documented in a SITREP and reflected in the ENGLink Red Book. A signed memo is not required. Flood control and coastal emergency Class 210 funds are requested for an EOC activation in support of USACE under its own authorities. For example, in a flood fight, and for activation in support of FEMA assigned missions. If the EOC is activated solely to support FEMA missions, then funding for the activation must be coordinated and obtained via the Emergency Support Function 3 team leader and/or assistant team leader with FEMA. For activation in support of an event of national significance, the National Emergency Preparedness Program Class 570 funds should be requested. In the event of an earthquake, the EOC should coordinate with Headquarters USACE to determine the type of funds that should be requested. Either 570 or 210 funds could be applicable depending on the event. For activation in support of a combatant command or military contingency operations overseas, Field Force Engineering funds should be requested. The district office is responsible for preparing and initiating the funding request through their respective MSC. District coordination with their district's resource management branch should occur concurrently with the funds request to ensure the funds are loaded upon receipt of the verbal authorization. Proper work items, work category code and elements, and resource codes must be established by the district. The MSC will review the request, then forward the funding request to Corps of Engineers Civil Works, Homeland Security. When circumstances dictate verbal authorization from Corps of Engineers Civil Works, Homeland Security for disaster funding, the responsible MSC will document the verbal authorization received. The District RM will load the 210 funds into the Corps of Engineers Financial Management System, or CFUMS, after which it will be available for use by the EOC. Let's walk through the EOC activation steps one by one. A credible threat to a district's area of responsibility, or AOR, may be determined by several measures. For example, the district AOR may be impacted by the cone of uncertainty of an approaching hurricane, or the National Weather Service's River Forecast Center may call for significant flooding throughout the area. Additional credible threats include, but are not limited to, when the National Weather Service predicts widespread tornadoes, or if the Tsunami Warning Center predicts a tsunami that may impact the AOR. On the recommendation of the District Emergency Management Chief or the Deputy District Commander, the District Commander will activate the EOC with emergency staff to Activation Level 2 or Level 1. The EOC will activate to the level necessary to respond to requests for support from states, missions and taskings from FEMA, and the USACE Operations Center as required. The Commander, Deputy Commander, Chief of the Readiness and Contingency Operations, Emergency Manager, or their designees may change the level of operation of the EOC and direct subordinate elements to modify their level of operation. When activated for an emergency response, the EOC will collect essential elements of information, EEI, perform mission analysis, provide situational assessments, coordinate resources, disseminate operational directives, prepare reports, and provide the commander with a single source for all operational information needed to manage the event. The corresponding EOC at the division level will conduct an initial mission analysis in coordination with the district on potential impacts and requirements of the district. This includes determining geographical extent of the event and making a decision on the EOC activation and level of activation. The District EOC Manager, in conjunction with the District Emergency Management Chief, will have several follow-on tasks. The District EOC will define the initial objectives and the immediate anticipated missions, including missions under the Core Zone Authority under Public Law 8499 and any anticipated Emergency Support Function 3 missions, to include regional activation. Based on the event and anticipated missions, the District EOC will appoint personnel to specific roles with specific responsibilities. The EOC Manager will then begin inputting information into ENGLink. This input includes creating and naming the event, noting latitude and longitude coordinates and potential or assigned missions, changing the EOC status in ENGLink, and creating the initial SITREP. The EOC will establish a battle rhythm and establish the time and frequency of the Commander's Update Briefing, or CUB. The District EOC Manager, in conjunction with the Emergency Management Chief, will also notify the Crisis Action, Crisis Management, and Emergency Support teams within their district, and if applicable, the USACE Operations Center and other potentially impacted USACE districts. So what happens next in a notice event? The respective division may request activation and deployment of Emergency Support Function 3 team leaders and assistant team leaders, depending on the situation. The division will also recommend designation of supported district and organic planning and response teams, subject matter experts, team leaders and assistant team leaders, if necessary, and notify the USACE Operations Center of any additional Emergency Support Function 3 requirements. The District EOC will notify the Crisis Management Team and staff of support requirements and, if applicable, ensure that response teams are notified of an imminent deployment. Depending on the event, the respective division may also recommend the designation of a division forward commander, request activation of USACE logistics activity for reception, staging, onward movement, and integration, and initiate ACE IT support through the Enterprise Emergency Response Team. The District Commander, through the Deputy District Commander with support from trained district personnel, will exercise command and control over the EOC during activation. During EOC activation, normal district functions will continue to the extent possible while giving priority to the emergency operation. The District Commander, on the recommendation of the EOC Manager or Emergency Management Chief, will decrease the EOC activation level from 1 to 2. The District Commander will deactivate the EOC from activation levels 2 to 3 or from 3 to 4, and finally complete EOC deactivation as appropriate. Deactivation notice will be posted in the daily SITREP and ENGLink, and all personnel will be advised as to the change in activation level. The information is relayed to the respective division and higher headquarters through conference calls and/or ENGLink. The EOC Manager will then begin the process of collecting lessons learned for the after-action report for the event.